Great. So good morning, everybody. I know folks will probably kind of slowly join as well, but we can get started. So we can go around and do some quick introductions. You guys know me. I'm Stephanie Cavino from the Blackstone Watershed Collaborative. And I know I mentioned last time that we were transitioning from Clark University into becoming our own independent nonprofit. So always fun logistical trying to get our grant awards and everything with our new contract. So I'll technically be on Clark's staff until September 25th, which means we have this Zoom account a little bit longer until we have to make the switch to our new Zoom account. So just so you know, I know I warned you like pending, but this will be our Zoom account for a little bit. So I'll keep you posted sometime in September. So if you just want to go around, I mentioned we don't have Kaylee today. She's in the field doing culvert training, but I'll hand it to David.
Yeah, David Tapscott, Uxbridge Board of Health and Mumford River Regional MVP 2.0, etc.
Local champion. That's the way I always describe you.
Local champion. Okay, I'll take it.
Thanks, David.
Yeah.
Jesse.
Yes, hi all, I'm Jessie Davis. I work for the City of Worcester in the Department of Sustainability and Resilience, and I'm our Sustainability Project Manager. Do you want me to pass it or do you pass it?
Oh, either way, go ahead.
Okay, I'll send it to Katie, my coworker.
Thanks, Jesse. I'm the Lakes and Ponds Coordinator for the City of Worcester, also in the Department of Sustainability and Resilience. Barbara Kickham, would you like to continue?
Sure. Barbara Kickham with the Lake Quinsigamond Watershed Association, and resident of Shrewsbury.
Thanks, Barbara. How about Greg?
Greg Dorschler, Intercollegiate Outdoors Coordinator with the Greater Worcester Land Trust. And I also took part in a few of the Miyawaki Forest planting days. So I'm looking forward to the presentation. And just learned this week that Worcester DSR is my new neighbor.
Yeah, I heard you guys moved. Congratulations. Hopefully that went smoothly.
Yeah, it's been great.
Ted.
Hi, Ted Beauvais. I'm president of the Blackstone River Watershed Association.
Thanks, Ted. Judy?
Good morning, everybody. I'm the non-point source outreach coordinator with the Watershed Planning Program at Mass DEP. And I just want to add that I'm really excited about this presentation because I had gone to a show at the Hanover earlier this year and had seen the start of that planting and had thought that perhaps it was a rain garden. So I'm really excited to learn that it is not and to learn more about it. So thank you.
Thanks, Judy. Hillary.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Hillary King. I use she, her pronouns, and I work for the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs in Massachusetts. For the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program, I'm the Central Regional Coordinator. And so, yeah, really happy to see this presentation on the Miyawaki Forest, which our program helped to fund. It was really fantastic. So thanks.
Thanks, Hillary. Lydia.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lydia. I'm the new technical specialist at the Massachusetts Rivers Alliance. So hopefully I'll actually get to meet a lot of you over the next few months and get to work with you guys. And yeah, I'm happy to be here at my first Blackstone Collaborative meeting.
Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Amanda.
Hello, I'm Amanda Cauffier. I'm a senior lab tech at Upper Blackstone Clean Water.
Thanks, Amanda. Nick.
Good morning, everyone. This is Nick Cohen with the Horsley Witten Group.
Thanks, Nick. Rebecca.
Hi, this is Rebecca Krieger. I am with Blackstone River Valley National Historical Park.
Thanks, Rebecca. Heather.
Hi, I'm Heather Perry. I'm with the Blackstone River Coalition. I'm the Water Quality Program Coordinator.
Sarah.
Hello, I'm Sarah. I work as a Associate Resiliency Planner at the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission.
Thanks, Sarah. Zachary?
Hi, I'm Zach. I'm an intern at Mass DEP's Watershed Planning Program working with Judy.
Great, thanks, Zach. And Donna?
Good morning. Donna Williams, Blackstone River Coalition and the Blackstone Heritage Corridor. And I would just like to say that I am so intrigued by the Miyawaki Forest Project in Worcester, and I got to help plant some trees at the Worcester Library. So I'm eager for an update. Hi, Jesse.
Well, I'm so glad we have Jesse here today to do this. We thought it would be an interesting presentation. I had heard about it from a presentation, I don't remember where, but BSC group, I think, gave a presentation at a conference somewhere, and I was like, I need to hear more about this. So I'm glad everybody's so interested. I'll hand it over to Jesse and Katie.
Thank you all. Yeah, super happy to be here. So Katie is going to help me with the PowerPoint. Thank you so much, Katie. All right, we can go to the next slide. Okay, so what I'll cover today, I'm going to give an overview of this project. I'll talk a little bit about what Miyawaki forests are and the ones that we planted. Lesson learns on this project, a lot for sure, and what's next for us in terms of the Miyawaki forests and other resilience projects that we're doing in the city. Next slide. So the background of this project, we were awarded an MVP grant, which I know all of you are very familiar with because a lot of us rely on those grants to do these types of projects. And I appreciate Hillary being on this call. She can probably fill in some gaps if I need any help too. So we received the grant and in September, and it was $409,000. And that was critical for us to be able to take on this project. So then we contracted with BSC Group, and they're an engineering firm locally, and they do urban landscaping, one of their expertise. And they also subcontracted with Bio for a Livable Climate. They go by Bio for Climate. And they're a leading expert in planting Miyawaki forests in New England. And when you hear about Miyawaki forests around here, you usually hear their name. And staff there have written books about the forest. They're like the go-to super knowledgeable organization on this. So we were grateful to have both of them on board for this. So we planted two pilot forests in the city, and they were in environmental justice communities that are extremely vulnerable to high heat in very densely populated neighborhoods. And that's really important to us in terms of projects that we take on in general, focusing on environmental justice areas in the city that benefit the most and need the most in terms of these projects, and also important for our MVP grant. And I think many of you have heard about our Green Worcester plan, which is really the guiding document for the work that we do. And it sets out many of our goals and our plans for the city moving forward. That plan was what really kicked off our department being formed a few years back. And one of our goals in that is to make the city and its population resilient to climate change impacts, including extreme storms, flooding, and high heat, along with other really great benefits. This project brings a lot of benefits. Next slide, please. Okay, so if you're not familiar with Miyawaki forests, I wasn't until a year and a half ago. They are densely planted, multi-canopied, small urban forests, usually between 1,000 to 10,000 square feet. And they were designed originally from a Japanese botanist, and his teachings on this and his designs on the Miyawaki forest, they really have spread globally and recently to New England. And they have been so popular because they can help with so many sustainability and resilience problems in really dense cities like Worcester, where you don't have a lot of space to be planting large areas with trees. So we need to make the most of the space that we have. And I mentioned they are really great for improving air quality, health, reducing urban heat and flooding, and those are large priorities for us. And our pilot project builds on the experience of other municipalities. So when we were researching this, we looked to other cities who have done this work. Aaron Devens has worked on this over the past few years, and Cambridge as well. They really were examples for us. We visited some of them and could see over the last few years how much they've progressed. And Bio for Climate was really involved in those as well. And this idea would not have happened without, I have to mention, Evelyn Hurwitz. She brought this idea to DSR. She's a wonderful committee member of our Green Worcester Advisory Committee, really dedicated to improving the tree canopy in the city in many, many ways. And she brought this idea to us and we loved it. It fits our goals, as I mentioned, and it's a great way to get the community involved. She stuck with us throughout the whole project. She helps with all of our education components for this project, doing outreach, and she was really key to the success of this project too. Next slide, please. Okay, so we went through a process where we chose 2 locations, 2 sites for these forests. We had funding to pilot just 2 sites. So the first site was the McGrath parking lot, which is adjacent to the public library. If you have been there, I think most people have been downtown and gone to that library. That lot is huge, right? And it is very rarely full and it gets hot. So it was a really perfect location for this, but it was tricky because we had to rip up a bunch of asphalt. So we knew that would be really impactful in terms of taking up some of that impervious surface and planting a bunch of trees there. But it also can be difficult to do anything that could possibly take away parking spaces in cities where there's a lot of demand for that. So we were able to get people on board with this, which was awesome. And so we replaced 6,500 square feet of asphalt with trees. So at maturity, so you can see the before here is the top, what it used to look like, and below is the rendering of anticipated in 10 years and at maturity, what it could look like there, which is really amazing to imagine that that's what you can see walking through the parking lot someday. At maturity, it will be very dense with approximately 60 canopy trees, 700 shrubs and flowering trees, and 2,500 understory plants. As I mentioned, the different stories are different layered canopies are one of the hallmarks of the Miyawaki forest and what makes them successful. And over 100 volunteers helped plant this forest in the spring. We had 2 planting days, and I know many people on this call came out and helped. And really, you'll hear in my lessons learned, we could not have done any of this without all of the community volunteers. It was really amazing to see so many people come out. And then these are just some of the benefits that I already mentioned. The heat island in the parking lot. There's a lot of air pollution around there with the car exhaust and busy roads downtown. Boosting biodiversity downtown, which is really lacking. You know, you don't see many pollinators or butterflies flying around downtown. So it will be exciting to be walking around and see. The last time I was there, I saw a bunch of bees on some of the flowers, and just really exciting to see that already happening. And reducing flooding. And also it makes it more beautiful, right? When you're walking around a city, seeing green spaces just makes people happier too. So tons of benefits. Okay, you can go to the next slide, Katie. The second location that we chose was Plumley Village. It's an apartment complex downtown. And we replaced 8,000 square feet of sod there. Again, you can see the before and our after rendering. At maturity, it will be dense with approximately 60 canopy trees, 900 shrubs and flowering trees, and 3,200 understory plants. And again, some of the same volunteers that were at McGrath came out here. And then we also were able to get a lot of residents that lived in this apartment complex to come out and volunteer. One awesome thing about Plumley Village was a lot of kids came out. You know, they play in this area. There's a playground and a basketball court right next to it. You can't really tell in these pictures, but if you've been around there, you would see that, or if you were at the volunteering events. And so it was amazing to see families and kids come out and be invested in this location. And also people from all over the place came. You know, we talked to the volunteers. Some people came from Connecticut or Boston or all over the state. People are really interested in this and this pilot that has so much potential for cities in our state and in New England. So the benefits here, adding a nice space for residents. I think you can tell in the top right of the current picture, or not current anymore, before we did the planting, you can see that it's right next to the highway. So this will hopefully absorb some of the pollutants there. Our landscape designer chose specific species of trees that would filter more air pollution. So we were very intentional about that. And I don't know how much you can see in the bottom right. Right now, we're working on creating a seating area next to the forest with some logs and trees where you can hope one day enjoy that space, and for parents, sit and watch your kids play in the playground and enjoy a cooler space. Next slide, please. So the next steps for the Miyawaki Forest, it was amazing to see all the planting get completed this spring, but planting only gets you so far. You need maintenance next. One of the things that was so appealing to us about this project is that Miyawaki forests are known for being self-sustaining after the first few years. So with limited city resources, we knew we needed something that within a few years could basically take care of itself. But we need to foster it to grow and be self-sustaining. So these first couple years are really key for the success of this project. We are now contracting with our consultant for another year to maintain the forest. They're going to be doing limited work and giving advice and helping manage volunteers, but are not able to do the maintenance all themselves. We are calling on the community to help make these spaces thrive. So many people came out to plant, and planting is really fun, right? You get to dig a hole and put in a tree, and I planted a tree. It's so fun. Weeding is not as fun. It can be more physically difficult, and it's also just less fun. I've done it at the sites, and the thing that is really great about it is there are different levels of abilities. So adults and kids and people that with different abilities can help. So we have created a Friends of the Miyawaki Forest volunteer group. We would love for people to join that and come out to our regular volunteer events. We're going to be doing them monthly, possibly another one during the month, depending on the needs of the forest. But I have later in the presentation a link, and I'll share it with staff too, to send out to sign up. It's just a Microsoft form. And we're doing maintenance events next week, actually. So from 4 to 7 p.m. next Wednesday night, we're going to be doing weeding and maintenance events. At Plumley Village, it'll be from 4 to 5:30 p.m. And at McGrath, it'll be 5:30 to 7 p.m. And you don't need to sign up. During the planting events, we did online signups. I'm sure many of you did that, but that was really just to manage the amount of volunteers that we had. Having 120 people sign up, it was a lot to coordinate. So since these events are smaller, you don't have to sign up, just come and show up, and you can come for half an hour or 3 hours, whatever works, and bring a friend. We'd really appreciate it getting out there to help. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so lessons learned. We found that we were really grateful to have experts on board for this project. Because this is such a specialized type of forest, it really would have taken us a very long time to research the species that are needed, design the spaces. These were large spaces. Some forests that you see around are just 1,000 square feet, which is great. We want them of all different sizes, but this scale was just more than we could really figure out on our own. So having experts on board was really essential for designing these forests and making them successful. The community involvement, I'll say it over and over again because it is so key. And I'll say that to other communities when they ask us for feedback. And and what we learned from doing this project, and is still so important. A community member came up with this idea, brought it to us, and the volunteers did most of the planting. We also brought on a community liaison. BSC hired someone to help connect with the public. They went to community meetings, did social media posts, really helped us reach out to connect people with this project. So we would also recommend that to other communities in terms of lessons. And one of the most exciting things is, you come up with different ideas in the department and you apply for grants, and then you just hope it works, right? And it was amazing to see the positive response to this. Having so many people come out and talk to us, and all of you on the call saying, "Oh, I'm interested in this." It's seeing such enthusiasm for this kind of project just makes me really hopeful and excited for the future that these can expand across the state. And our project timeline is one other lesson I would share. So our grant covered 1 year for this pilot, so we had to move really quickly. And I would give advice to others to maybe give yourself a little bit more time if you can, because there was a lot to accomplish in a short period of time. So I think maybe our next go around, if we're able to do a project like this in the future, which hopefully we can, I would see if we could have a little bit more time to have things not be as rushed, I guess. Okay, next slide, please. Where to next? We are now looking to the community for feedback on where to install resilient features next. And these could be Milwaukee forest, but also street trees and yard trees. We'd really love to have community members be invested in that as well, because planting a tree in your backyard can be really impactful. And planting trees on the streets is also impactful, but we've found that sometimes residents aren't as interested in keeping those trees in front of their homes, so they don't always survive. We are hoping that we can get support from people to want to take care of those trees on the streets. And we'll pursue funding opportunities as they arise for these projects. And so the way that we're gathering these suggestions is through a crowdsource map. If you haven't used a crowdsourced map before, it's really easy. Basically, you're like dropping a pin on an area where you think could benefit, and you just click on that and then add in a little information if you'd like. You can also upvote on there. So if someone says, "I really think we should plant a Milwaukee forest in this area of the city," then you can, and if you agree, you can upvote that. And so some of the features on there are liked. 15 or 20 times. So you can see, oh, there's a lot of people that care about that spot. Obviously, we can't guarantee that any of these things will actually be planted or installed anytime soon, but we're hoping that by gathering these ideas, we'll know where to focus our projects and our funding moving forward. You can see on the right side too that I have listed cool pockets as one of the resilient features. I chose not to talk a lot about that during this presentation because I knew that I had limited time. I don't even know if I'm already over it, but no, okay. I knew I had limited time, and the cool pockets part of this project was kind of a smaller piece. And I'm happy to answer questions about it too if people are interested, but didn't want to get too deep into that. But basically, we were designing small pocket parks that are cooling spaces for the city. And we designed 2 of them. And hopefully in the future, we'll be able to get funding to actually install those. Next slide, please. These are ways to learn more and get involved. So we have a full project story map. If you haven't checked out story maps before, they're really awesome. You can see maps through GIS and photos and project history. They're really great to navigate, super engaging and interesting. I would recommend checking that out. As I mentioned, you can get involved, help us maintain these forests by joining our friends group. And I explained the crowdsource map in this slide previously. Next slide, please, Katie. So this is our contact, our website, and our email if you have follow-up questions. And next slide. That's it. So happy to answer questions.
Thank you so much. That was great, Jesse. I learned a lot from that too, that I hadn't heard before. So you've got a few questions in the chat already, but if others have questions, feel free to raise your hand. So the first question from Zach was, in both of these projects that have been planted, are all of the plants native?
Sorry, one second. Katie, do you mind stop sharing your screen? Then we could probably see everyone's face, right?
Yeah, sorry. There we go. I thought I did stop.
Okay.
There we go.
Cool.
Thanks.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And thanks so much for sharing your screen. Sorry, which question did you want me to answer, Steph?
Were the plants native?
Yes, that was a big priority for us, choosing native species. And yes, so our consultants did choose all native species. Sign up. Did you measure the impact of the forest? So we haven't fully measured that yet on GHG reductions, but we are partnering with Clark. They are going to be doing a study on the heat over time. So checking the heat before we planted the forest and then throughout this project, how much it is hopefully reducing the heat in those areas. But we haven't measured the impact of the GHGs, but it is something that we're interested in doing in the future. Okay, are there any nature-based examples, initiatives in Worcester to mitigate stormwater? Yes, lots. So obviously this is one of the things that we are hoping will reduce stormwater issues, but there also are a bunch of rain gardens in the city. The Worcester Native Plant Initiative is an amazing group of volunteers that have spent a lot of time planting rain gardens in the city and encouraging people to do it actually in their own spaces, in their yards, or even at their houses of worship, all sorts of locations. The city has installed rain gardens on city properties also through previous MVP grants too. One at our senior center, which we're currently working on revamping. But yes, it's a big thing that we really care about and are dedicated to. Adding rain gardens throughout the city, and as part of Katie's job, I know she does a good amount of work related to that. We also are going through a drainage and green infrastructure master planning process right now. We hired Weston and Sampson to do this. It's a 2.5-year project, also funded by MVP. And they have gone through most of our city to assess the flooding impacts, the capacity of our storm drains and all of that, and determined areas with the biggest issues for flooding. We're also now going on to a green infrastructure section of that plan where we can choose priority areas and pilot or example projects that we would want to install in some of those areas. So that planning process should be done this winter, and the plan will be posted on our website when it's completed. I would say that's probably our biggest one right now, is creating that master plan. And it's a mix between gray and green infrastructure, because some of the solutions just have to be like, we need to upgrade our city's pipes and all of that infrastructure, but definitely a focus on nature-based solutions whenever possible. Really appreciate all the MVP plugging. I mean, it's amazing how much the state is able to fund these initiatives. Do you know the survival rate of the planting so far? Greg, I don't know an actual percentage, but we have done a couple. BSC has gone out to assess that, and they've gone to see where trees need to be replaced. So we have done some replacing of some of the trees that didn't survive the transplant, and some events had that issue more than others. I think partially because there were so many people that it was a little bit hard to manage. Were they planting them exactly correctly, or were their roots being damaged by a lot of people touching them? But BSC has done enough of these to know that there's always going to be a small percentage that doesn't survive the transplant. And you kind of just go back and check which ones aren't doing well and replace them. I don't have a percentage, but I would guess very high survival rate because I haven't seen a lot of transplants. I can guess, I don't know, 90%. But don't hold me to that. I know it's most. I can ask our consultant if you'd like, Greg, but I know for the most part it's been super successful. Have you looked into funding for environmental justice project? Have you looked into funding via? I'm not sure, Barbara, if I understand your question there. Have you looked into
Yeah, I might have not been listening. I didn't hear what your source of funding is, but LQWA is meeting with Professor Conroy at Worcester State next week to just give him some of our ideas about where they have funding for environmental justice programs. And so they're looking for ideas, and this would really fit in with that. So it just seems like you should be in contact with him.
Yeah, that's great to know. If you wouldn't mind sharing his contact either in the chat or if you shoot me an email, that would be really great to know. We partner with universities often.
Okay.
Jesse,
Yeah.
just to jump in here, I think that project for WSU is possibly the same EPA grant that the department's working on. There might be multiple funding streams there, but I think it's relatively related. So we'll be happy to follow up on that.
Yeah, probably is, but that I just wanted to make sure that that we're all talking to each other. So that's awesome.
For sure. Yeah, thank you. The name of the Stormwater and Green Infrastructure Master Plan. So you had it right for the most part. Heather is answering that. David found this on pros and cons. Oh yeah. Okay, great. Would love to read that. I have heard, I mean, of course, anytime you do something, it's good to hear the pros and cons. I haven't read this article, but thank you for sharing.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jesse. Oh, and if you can share contact info, that's a good point.
Then the contact that was in your slides. Yes. Pretty easy to remember. It's just Green Worcester. But yeah, I can save my presentation as a PDF and also email it to you, Steph, so you can share it with everyone.
Sure. And I tried to keep up with all the links. There was so many resources there, which is wonderful. So those are in the chat and those will be in the notes, and I'll put your contact in the notes as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for this opportunity. I appreciate it. And thanks for the support, everyone. Definitely email me if you have other questions. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for presenting. That was really helpful to kind of have it broken down and hear more. And I'd also love to hear more about those other cooling centers. I know you're doing something at Columbus Park. So there's so much going on in the city of Worcester. I've been thinking lately that there might be an opportunity to coordinate like a tour of some of the green infrastructure projects in the city. And I haven't made that a goal quite yet, just because our plate is really full for the next couple of months. But I would love to plan that at some point, maybe in the spring.
Well, one thing I would say, if people do want to learn more about these things on our website, I can also share that. We hosted a resilience summit back in the spring and in May. And we had awesome speakers at that, and the presentations are all listed on our website. So if you want to learn more about the Cool Pockets project, you can see their presentation on there, and the stormwater plan that I mentioned, there's a presentation by those consultants about that project that we're working on. So I can add that link too, because if you want to go through those presentations, you can also get a sense of those other projects that we're working on.
Great, thank you. If folks think of other questions, feel free to put them in the chat or send them over to Jesse. But we'll switch over to some of our other updates. I don't have anything for Bikeway or Greenway as per usual. I don't know if anyone else does. I know the Heritage Corridor is usually the folks who would work on this. I don't know, Sarah, if you have anything else.
No, nothing on that. I think Carrie said that she would be reaching out at some point.
Great. Okay, thanks. So it sounds like there's a lot of different university work going on, and Barbara, you and Katie mentioned some of that as well. I don't know if other folks have anything to share. I wanted to mention that the collaborative is working with Professor John Rogan at Clark, and we've helped them get a grant to create a forest management plan of Hadwin Arboretum. So while Clark has owned Hadwin for 100-something years, and John's done a really great job of stewarding it and getting signage and getting community involvement. There's actually no formal plan for it. And while Clark has, I'm sure, no intention of developing it, technically there's nothing prohibiting them from doing that in the future. And we never know what will happen. So we really thought a plan was important that wouldn't necessarily be binding, but at least write down those reasons why that parcel is so incredibly important to continue being preserved. So we are working with a forester, and we'll be working on that plan over the summer, fall, well, more like the fall and then the spring, and then it'll be completed next summer. So thank you to DCR for that forest stewardship plan funding. I also just heard this morning, Clark is starting a new collaborative for community engagement, and some of the professors got funding for this faculty urban fellowship, which will be studying all sorts of different things, specifically in Worcester. So some of them are about housing or food justice or folks experiencing homelessness, land use conversions, a little bit of everything. So check out that article there. Like I said, I just saw it this morning, so I don't know a lot about it, but it's pretty interesting. Feel free to reach out with those professors. Is there anything else that folks wanted to share for university updates? Okay. Trying to keep you guys posted on Fish Passage. I know we still don't have a website on this yet. I promise we will get one soon, but we are working still on trying to restore migratory fish on the Blackstone River. And there's a lot of redevelopment happening in Pawtucket right now. Between our last meeting and this one, we held a public event where we just got to hear from some of the Pawtucket residents and different organizations about what's important to them. Some of the things that came up were, of course, the things we always hear. Yes, it would be great to get migratory fish here. Yes, we would love more access to the river. Signage was something that was really important to participants. They really wanted to know both, I think, Pawtucket and Central Falls in particular have a lot going on. So better signage to be able to access those areas. So more wayfinding, but also signage on the river to understand why it's important or where these access points are, where to get out of the river before an obstruction like a dam or rapids. So there's a lot on signage that we need to work on, and we'll be incorporating into future grant efforts. There was a lot of talk about accessibility and making sure that trails and paths are accessible, that restrooms are accessible, and that we publicize where all of those resources are. A lot on Indigenous education and the need for having Indigenous representation within any cultural signage that we have, et cetera, et cetera. So we're working on some follow-ups from that meeting that we'll be posting soon, and we can share that with you. As the City of Pawtucket and the Pawtucket Redevelopment Agency also do a lot of redevelopment. They have an RFP out right now for redevelopment. We were concerned at first because the particular parcel that would require us to construct that fish passage was included within that redevelopment plan. But after speaking with the Pawtucket Redevelopment Agency yesterday, they do have an intention of creating an easement to make sure that development does not occur on that parcel. So we'll be submitting a formal comment to ensure that that is written down and that we are all on the same page about that, and we preserve the ability to create that fish passage in the future. Anything else on fish passage? Most of you are not focused on that, but great. For water quality, Worcester hasn't had any CSO events since their last meeting. That hasn't happened in a while. I was really expecting to get one this morning, but I didn't, so that's wonderful. Does anyone else have water quality updates that they want to share?
Hi, I'm Heather Perry from the Blackstone River Coalition, and our ongoing monthly sampling is still going until November, and everything's going well. We had a couple really rainy months right on the day we were going to sample, so that made it a little interesting. But we're still looking for volunteers if anybody knows anybody or would like to volunteer. Hillary's one of our volunteers. She comes every month and grabs a sample. So if anyone's interested in volunteering, you can send me an email and I can hook you up with the right lab. So and thank you for supporting this program. Thanks.
Thanks, Heather. And did you say you want folks to email you if they're interested?
Sure. Yes, I can
Okay.
put my email in the chat.
Great. That means I can put it in the notes.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
For water quality monitoring. Great. Anything else on water quality? For connectivity, this isn't like a specific bullet that we'd had in our notes, but I feel like we talk about it so much, whether it's about dams or culverts or restoration efforts. So I just put it in there. You'll see it in the notes following up. I wanted to mention one that, again, I just heard this morning that the Massachusetts Department of Fish and Game has released a new strategic plan. I, of course, have not read through it all yet, but I did notice in a quick skim that it includes removing department-owned dams by 2030. And also there are specific action items around restoration, dam removal, improvement of diadromous fish species, so migratory fish species, and ensuring that they have effective passage through existing barriers. So I will share the link here if anyone wants to check that out. And hopefully, you know, if folks are interested, maybe that's something that we can ask for a presentation for in the future. I would be interested to hear an overview of what is in that new strategic plan for the next 5 years. There are also some new tours that were just announced for, if you're interested in dam removal, doing some site visits throughout the state. They're not in our watershed, but I think it's important to learn what is happening in other areas of the state so that we can hopefully copy what's going on here. And there are 2 different ones. One is on Wednesday, September 18th, hosted by Mass Rivers Alliance and I think, Charles River Watershed Association. And the other is on October 21st, hosted by Mass ECAN, Ecosystem Climate Adaptation Network, and Mass DER is working with both of those groups. So I put in the notes in the chat here, the registration for both of those. Registration is required, but really interested in seeing those. Anything else that folks have on sort of this connectivity restoration heading?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention the what's going on in Douglas, which is
Great, thanks.
the Mumford River that Stephanie was at, and somebody from Save the Bay and Mass DEP and Mass DER and the owners of the dam. I think this is a little bit unusual because the owners of the dam are interested in its removal. And the town is involved also. I'm not sure to what degree. And we discussed issues of getting the community on board and really top to bottom issues of dam removal. But it looks like it's going to happen at some point. They've done a feasibility study, which is a nice, good step. And there's no sediment issues there either, toxic sediment issues, which makes it a little more straightforward. So that's happening in the Mumford River. watershed and trying to integrate that in my own mind with what's happening with Regional 2.0, MVP 2.0 that we're working with. And while I'm on the subject, we had our first core team meeting and really exploring environmental justice and social resilience issues as the sort of the lead context for that whole MVP 2.0. So I'll just keep people filled in about where we're going with that. But we're nowhere near defining a seed project, but we'll get there.
Yeah, thanks, David. I was wondering at what point to mention that project also, but it is really exciting, and they seem like they have a lot of support, but they're really interested in doing more community outreach. So you'll definitely hear more about that project coming up, and hopefully we can work with them to assist in that community outreach.
Yeah.
Hi,
Yeah, go ahead.
can I just jump in again?
Yeah.
So as people are talking about the dam removals and water quality or, connectivity projects, I know we, at the coalition, Blackstone River Coalition, are always looking for kind of like spots where we might be able to do hotspot monitoring. So if there was like a project that someone thought they could see coming in the future, if they thought some water quality data there would be important or help their application for a grant, like we can supply what we have, or we can apply for other grants to be able to do a more concentrated hotspot monitoring, like we did it on the Mill River last summer through a DEP bacteria grant for the water quality program. So if anybody, we're always looking for those kind of projects. So if anybody has a project where they think some water quality data might be helpful, please reach out to me as well for that. We'd love to see our data being used and helping other people. So
That's a great point. Maybe we can connect you with Chris Houle, who is the engineer for, I don't know if he's an engineer, but he's the contact with Ty and Bond on that. And for folks who recognize that name, yes, Chris Houle was also with DER and also with US Fish and Wildlife before. So we probably worked with him in a lot of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
I told the town they picked the right person.
Thank you. That'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So general updates, I just wanted to give a couple of things. One is that we're really excited that we're going to be doing another big paddle down the river from September 12th to 15th. And that includes a public paddle for those last 4 miles. Let me get the link for it here, but we did open registration now. So you can borrow a boat thanks to Friends of the Blackstone for sharing their canoes and kayaks with us. So we have room for about 30 something people to attend on renting boats, but you're welcome to also bring your own. We still require registration because we need to make sure we have an insurance waiver for you and have that covered. But it's going to be about a 4 mile. We give you a couple hours to do it. It doesn't really take too long. It's pretty easy waters. The picture on the website is the actual part that we will be paddling. This is actually on the Seekonk River. The Blackstone ends at the Main Street Dam. For some reason, when that water hits the other side of the dam, they call it a new river and they call it the Seekonk. So we'll be paddling from Pawtucket to Providence and ending at Narragansett Brewing. If you just want to join us for the brewery part, we'd be happy to have you in that celebration. And we're working with Senator Whitehouse's office, who's really interested in attending. We haven't gotten a confirmation on speaking yet, but when the senator asks you, when's that event coming up? When's that event coming up? It's a good thing. So we're excited to have some great speakers there as well. If you come on the paddle with us, you get a token for a free beer when you get to Narragansett Brewing. So that's your incentive to come on the paddle part, but it's a fun day. And you have until September 8th to register. So you've got some time. Other updates, I mentioned that MACC is planning their fall conference at Devon's, the Mass Association of Conservation Commissioners. So they have a request for proposal. So they have an opening for exhibitors now for the fall conference, and then also a request for proposals for their spring conference. There's a lot of MVP today, but I also wanted to say congratulations in this area, in this watershed. The Hassemisco Band of Nipmuc was awarded about $800,000 for MVP funding. Hillary, I don't know if you want to say anything else specifically about that award. I don't have the details on it.
We're just wrapping up contracts right now, but I'll be happy to share more once I have some more information.
Great, thank you. I did get that publicly, so I haven't shared anything out of turn yet, right?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
not at all. I mean, they're looking to fund some improvements to their different properties in terms of you know, bringing more medicines and foods to the people. So it should
That's
be very
wonderful.
interesting. Yeah, it's great.
Great, thank you. We've got a lot of other different updates in our notes. I don't want to go through every single one of them. I know you guys can read as well. Is there anything else that folks want to share or highlight?
Yeah, Stephanie, if I could just jump in real quick, because this isn't on the your notes, just because we're still finalizing this, but I just wanted to put in a quick plug for the Massachusetts Rivers Alliance annual celebration, which will be in November, will be on November 14th at the Charles River Museum in Waltham. So that's just going to be a big event for all of like our member organizations. We actually have a really cool speaker coming from NASA who will be presenting on satellite data that they use to track riverine systems and stuff like that. So that's events information still to come. But I just wanted to put in a quick plug for that because we're very excited about it. And then other Mass Rivers events are just our Dam Buster series, which you already mentioned, and the Mass Rivers Connects for our member organizations as well. There's the Scientists in Monitoring meeting, which I will be running bi-monthly, and that's on our website, which I will put in the chat, but just wanted to jump in with that real quick. So
Great, thank you. I know I really was so sad that I missed the annual event you had last year, but I'm looking forward to it this year.
We're very excited.
Right. So I'll add that to our notes too. Anything else that folks want to share? No? Okay. I know we had, we talked last time about having our meetings from 10 to 11, and some folks said, yes, please, shorter is better. And some folks said, can you leave the time on my calendar? Because I really like my extra hour. So we haven't changed the calendar invite yet. We left it from 10 to 12, but we kind of intended on being 10 to 11. So we know that this change will occur when we get a new Zoom account through the nonprofit versus through Clark. And I think at that point, next month, we'll actually change your calendar invite to be 10 to 11, but we'll leave it for now. So you can have your extra fun free hour. Total side note, if anyone knows Bill Napolitano, sometimes he joins these meetings. He stayed away today. It's his birthday today. So feel free to tell him happy birthday. I'm sure he doesn't want anybody to know that. So happy to share. Great. All right. With that, I'll let you guys go, and we look forward to seeing you at our next meeting, which is, let me scroll, September 20th. So we'll see you on September 20th. And if there are any specific speakers that you're interested in having, let me know. Otherwise, I might reach out to Fish and Game in Massachusetts and hear more about that plan. Okay. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks, Steph.
Thanks, Steph. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.